This is me qualifying for the Classic Tetris World Championships in 2019, alongside some of the best Tetris players in the world. It was quite an intense experience, and very different from how the process started out at the beginning of the competition's history. For some context, let's rewind a decade. In the inaugural 2010 tournament, the entire event took place over the course of a day, so time was of the essence. Most of the 8 seeds were predetermined, given to world record holders, with only 3 slots open to the public based on who could get the highest B-type score on level 18, height 0, in which the game ends after 25 lines no matter what. Due to how brief the mode was, people quickly racked up perfect games with all Tetrises, and the slots ended up being decided by pushdown points, which was probably not the original intent. In 2011, the 8 seeds were all open to the public, and a 100,000 point bonus was offered for starting on the much more difficult level 19 to allow for more variance in the scores. But even then, the eventual winner, Jonas Neubauer, crushed it in the quals, getting a nearly perfect 19 score. The writing was on the wall that eventually this could become a pushdown point battle too. Starting in 2012, the tournament was hosted at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo and extended to 2 days, allowing for a greatly expanded format. Things settled on a 32 seed bracket decided by people qualifying on A-type, where you could play as long as you could survive, allowing for a much wider spread of scores. And rental stations got added as well, so people could focus uninterrupted for a full hour on getting a good score. But over the years, the pool of players grew, and eventually it was clear more spots would need to be added to include a lot of the talent flying in from all over the world. In 2018, the bracket expanded to 40 seeds with a new round 0, and in 2019, the bracket was expanding again to an unprecedented 48 seeds. On the surface, it seemed like I might have a better chance of getting in than the previous year, where I had fallen just short. But one nerve-wracking aspect of qualifying day for me before it ever began was I wasn't entirely sure I would be able to play at all. Just 2 months before, in August, while trying to record a piano piece, I had severely strained a tendon in, of all places, my left thumb, putting my hand in a brace for 6 weeks. In the 2 weeks before the tournament, I had only played a couple of times for about half an hour before my hand started to feel like it was burning and I had to stop. I came prepared with multiple ice packs and the knowledge that I might have to quit playing at any moment. I arrived right on time for the start of qualifying and, well, there was a bit of a situation. The qualifying line was so long, it snaked out the door, around the walls, and clear across to the entrance for the main hall of the convention. This was longer, I think, than the organizers were expecting, and in order to avoid creating a human wall across the convention center with the line, a snaking path was quickly assembled with yellow tape. As I got in line, 2 things immediately became clear. One, the length of the line meant that I wasn't going to get nearly as many attempts as last year. In 2018, the line took about 12 minutes at its peak. This year, at times, the line would end up taking close to 40 minutes. 2, even with the bracket expanded from 40 to 48 players, the competition was going to be absolutely stacked this year. I was seeing players that hadn't showed up in years, such as Louis Scuey, who was the first competitor from outside the US back in 2012, and Dana Wilcox, who was one of the original 8 players in the first year of the tournament. And when I saw someone I didn't recognize, in 2018 the situation was usually that they were completely new to the game. In 2019, they typically had a better personal best score than me. In one of my first games of the day, I had a decent level 18 game, but I faltered quickly trying to line it out past the transition. 517,000 was enough to put me in the bracket temporarily, but I knew that there was no way that score would be good enough this year. I would need to do better. I had gotten a 1-hour rental station for the middle of the day, and when I showed up at the allotted time, one of the organizers, Vince Clemente, told me that my rental station would be one of the 4 on the main stage, which was being streamed live to their Twitch channel. If I was going to have the game of my life to get into the bracket, it was going to be in front of the widest audience possible. And what happened? Well, I went up there and played some of the worst Tetris of my life. Misdrops and early top-outs all over the place. On the one decent game I had, I lost a ton of pace when I missed a hyper tap to the left with a square and was stuck burning for a ton of lines. coins. I managed to clutch out a precarious Tetris at the transition, only to miss a few tucks right afterwards and top out at 511,000. It certainly didn't help to calm the nerves that I was up there next to world champion Joseph Saley, who had already gotten a max out earlier that day and set a new qualifying record by making it all the way to level 31, and was now just flexing hard by doing level 19 starts.
This is interesting if just for looking at the mechanics of the game. David's at 18 at the top, Joseph's at 19 at the bottom. There's your speed difference. It's 50% difference between one level. It's a completely different game. 3,000 viewers right now on Twitch watching qualifiers. Watching you, Dave. Yes, you. Not at all the current champion on the lower right.
Again, it's just one of those situations where it's hard not to just keep watching Joseph's screen right now. Just look how high the stack is.
The one silver lining for me at the end of the hour was that my thumb hadn't completely given out and seemed to actually be okay. But aside from that, it felt like the hour had pretty much sealed that I wouldn't make the bracket. Leaving the stage, I was pretty bummed. But as I walked off, I looked up and did a double take as I saw Alexei Pajitnov, the original creator of Tetris, just hanging out right in front of me. This caught me completely off guard. It would be like being at a Star Wars convention and then just suddenly seeing George Lucas chilling right next to you. Nobody had said anything about Alexei Pajitnov showing up. I later learned that this was completely intentional. His attendance had been kept a secret ahead of time so he wouldn't get mobbed at the convention. And it seemed to work. He didn't have a crowd around him at that moment, and I was able to talk to him briefly and take a picture. And when I got back in line, even though I had predictably been bumped off the bracket, I saw that the results had been all over the place, even for the best players. Joseph, of course, had racked up multiple max outs. DNQZ had also gotten multiple max outs, and longtime veteran Terry Purcell had maxed out from level 19. Svavar hadn't gotten a max out though. Green Tea had just missed 2 max outs during his hour at the rental station. While waiting in line, Josh Tolles told me how he had missed several max outs by a single Tetris. Even though all of them were going to safely make it into the bracket, there was a big incentive to get a seed in the top 16 and avoid risking immediate elimination that day in round 0. And some people far better than me were stuck in the same situation I was. I met Paul, aka Mega Retro Man, in line, who had come a long way in his Tetris journey over the past 2 years. He had spent the better part of a year coming within 1 Tetris of getting a max out multiple times, and had finally broken through January 10th, 2019 to get his first one. In the 10 remaining months before the tournament, he'd managed to get over 20 more max outs, but his current qualifying score was only in the mid 500,000s, barely above me. It seemed that the pressure of having far fewer opportunities than previous years was getting to a lot of people, myself definitely included. In 2018, I got 25 games in line, and in 2019, I would only end up getting 10. This was my final game, and in retrospect, I can definitely see a ton of over-aggressive moves made in a panic, trying to maintain a high pace. Like, come on, I should have just taken a burn here. Shortly afterwards, I topped out. After this game, the line was too long for me to realistically be able to get another game in before the time was cut off, so I called it a day and unofficially finished 71st in qualifying. But I couldn't feel too bad because it was a day of heartbreak for a lot of people far better than me. Paul managed to clutch out a decent score at the last minute on his rental station to nab a comfortable seed, but I know of at least 4 players who had a max out as their personal best, but couldn't crack the 670,000 needed to get in. In the final half hour, I decided instead to play the No Next Box Challenge, sponsored by Cogworks Laboratory, where they were tracking your eyes while you played so they could study brain behavior. While I was playing, I heard Josh Tolles finally get a max out behind me. Afterwards, I watched Ben Mullen and Alex Kerr play the No Next Box Challenge. I congratulated Alex on making the bracket, but Alex wasn't thrilled about being stuck in round 0, as everyone was good now. There would be no freebie wins for the higher seeds. After qualifying was officially over, there was no time for anybody to rest as the round 0 matches started right away, and things immediately got intense. I was sitting right in front of Sharky, who was eagerly awaiting his name to be called, but as every match finished, he kept getting passed messed up. I remarked that it felt like they were giving him the icing the shooter treatment. In his first game, Paul topped out on level 21 with a huge lead versus his opponent Michael, who tried to go for Tetrises and ended up hanging a long bar to top out and seed game 1. In game 2, Paul topped out again shortly after the transition with a much smaller lead, and Michael still opted to build for Tetrises despite Jonas calling out,
"Patience, my son!"
from the audience. Michael managed to get a Tetris, but not before his board became so messy that he was unable to squeeze across enough lines afterwards, and finished less than 3,000 points behind. Paul had managed to escape round 0. Svavar managed to win 2 games and escape as well, but Alex Kerr, who had reached the finals in 2011 and 2017, went out to a new player named Reed in the first surprising upset of the weekend. The breakout star of the afternoon was a little girl who, inspired by the commentators, shouted out booms for every Tetris. Sharky ended up being the very last match of the day, facing Microblizz, an insanely fast guideline Tetris player who had decided to take a crack at NES Tetris. Sharky had some good games, even getting to show off his signature move, which commentator Arda Okal ended up coining a name for.
But he's playing well, yes!
Nice.
The Hyper Jolt! Oh, the Hyper Jolt in full effect!
So swag.
In the end though, Microblizz prevailed in a decider to advance. When the dust had cleared, there was an insane bracket for the following day. I didn't even try to make predictions this year because so many of the matchups looked dead even. There were definitely some heavyweight pairings I was looking forward to. Quaid, the famous Centerwell player who made the finals in 2015, was set to face 2016 European champion Yanni in the round of 32. Green Tea looked like he would get an opportunity to face Joseph in the round of 8. Jonas looked like he was going to have a rematch with Svavar from last year in the round of 16, and then potentially have another rematch with Harry in the round of 8, who he had previously faced 3 times in the finals. Some of those matches ended up happening, and well, some of them didn't.